So today is the birthday of Buddha. The birthday of Buddha, あら、消えちゃった。disappeared.
What happened?
Can I continue? Today is the birthday of Buddha. The birthday of Buddha is the full moon day in the month of Vaishak in India. I am very happy that this year also we can meet each other on Buddha Purnima. Originally, this program was very local here in Hollywood only. But because of this pandemic situation, now the people all over the world can attend this program. This is a very new approach for us. So I'm sorry we are late because totally this is new. So we are a little bit technical problem we had to face. Now, and this pandemic situation and actually war also deeply makes us to think about the cause of sufferings of the people. Buddha really identified with the sufferings of the people, disease, old age, and death. His motive was really based on his love and compassion to all the people, all the beings, not only people in the world. Now, we will look over the life of Buddha. Actually, this year, we want to focus on the life after the enlightenment. We want to see how much Swami Vivekananda had the influence from Buddha also. So today's focus will be on Buddha and Swami Vivekananda. First, about part 1, this Buddha's life. This story is mainly based on the book of Hajime Nakamura, who studied especially the primitive Buddhism in Pali and Sanskrit. Through the grace of the Lord, many devotees and monks of this center, Harriet Center, helped to make this presentation, which you'll see from now. Without their help, this could not have been completed. And about part 2, from 8 o'clock. Today, we want to invite the minister of Frozen no Ninji Buddhist temple in Japan. This minister is belonging to Soto Zen Buddhism, the path of meditation, Zen. Their main practice is the meditation. Today, he will kindly chant for us. The first chanting will be Prajna Paramita Hridaya Sutra in Japanese. And for the second chanting, means in the part 2, he will do in Pali. When I was young, before I entered into this teaching of Vedanta, I wanted to decide which path to proceed. So, before making my decision, I went to see his guru, the teacher of today's guest. His name is Sekkei Harada Roshi. This was about 35 years ago. He lived in the very small village in Japan. But he was already very well known that time in the all over the world because of his enlightenment or realization. He had disciples from all over the world, but in the very small village. So I went to see him. Unexpectedly, he welcomed me very much. I was very much surprised at his loving hospitality. For this, just only myself, he said, we talked many things, various things, but he said at the end, please cherish the relationship with the path which already you have. He had already known about Sri Ramakrishna that time. I was surprised. It was very rare to see such a monk who knew about Sri Ramakrishna in Japan that time. So especially among the Buddhist monks. So we are very happy to have his disciple today as our guest. I really thankful to the great souls who are guiding us in the various ways to the enlightenment. Today's guest, who is a disciple of Sekkei Harada Roshi, made a study group, means study circle of Swami Vivekananda, and he studied for about 30 years. So we want to listen to his talk today in the part 2 from 8 o'clock. If this program will be able to help you to contemplate on Buddha, this is a real purpose, so we would be very happy. So we can chant from Hariut side, and after that, Rose Sensei will chant for us. Buddham Sharanam Gacchami. Buddham Sharanam Gacchami. Dhammam Sharanam Gacchami. Dhammam Sharanam Gacchami. Sangham Sharanam Gacchami. Sangham Sharanam Gacchami. Buddham Sharanam Gacchami. Dhammam Sharanam Gacchami. Sangham Sharanam Gacchami. Buddham Sharanam Gacchami. Dhammam Sharanam Gacchami. Dhammam Sharanam Gacchami. 先生、お願いします。
はい。
般若波羅蜜多心経
観十大菩薩行人波羅蜜多事象見言海空同意細空役者流子異空空異識識属税空空属税識有創業識役シャリシゼショクソルショルメククジョルドルゲンデト式無重創業式無限に微ゼ新に無式上公に卒を無限界内意識界無無明薬無無明人内識無老識薬無無空襲滅道無契約無得意無浄土東方大座彼なんじゃはや当天無経営無経営公無空音で最総部行名安三世成仏へ般若波羅蜜多高徳阿のぶたら三百菩提当時般若波羅世界自修世界病修世無常修世無道道修の上位細部高校節般若波羅蜜多種族節中発やてやてやらやてやらそうやてそわか般若心
手が届き時をもってあまねく一切に及ぼし我らと主情と皆仏共に仏道上善語といよのさ
どうもありがとうございました。
はい。
Thank you very much.
Then Gautama went to the place which we now call Buddha Gaya. There he made a resolution. I will remain on this spot, seated here, absorbed in meditation, until I attain enlightenment. Even though this body may decay in the effort, so Gautama sat under the Bodhi tree alone and pondered, the world is full of pain and suffering. There is no life without suffering. Why do we keep on suffering? What is the cause of this suffering? How can we remove this cause? Is there a way out of this suffering? He meditated, going deeper and deeper, until the eye of wisdom, which sees reality, opened in him. The greatest wisdom appeared in him, the light appeared in him, and the eternal shining light shone in him. He attained supreme enlightenment under the Bodhi tree. Light shone all around him as he sat for 7 days in a state of joy. An arrogant Brahmin happened to pass by, and on seeing Gautama Buddha, he was surprised at the light radiating from the one who woke up. He bowed low before him in reverence. When it started to rain, the Naga god appeared and coiled 7 times around his body and made a hood, much like that of a cobra, over his head to shelter him from the rain and wind. After 7 days, Gautama Buddha came out of his meditation and became aware of the outside world. The Naga god uncoiled and with great respect bowed low before him. For another 7 days, Gautama Buddha stayed seated there, immersed in the joy of supreme peace.
This is from the book, Great Master. It is describing the condition at the beginning of the organization of the Vedanta Society in India. Here, we means direct disciples of Sri Ramakrishna.
The devotees, we said before, brought the master for the treatment of his throat disease to a hired house, at first at Champukar, in Calcutta, and afterwards to a garden house at Kashipur, a little to the north of the city. Accompanied by 2 of his co-disciples, Swami Vivekananda went away to Bodh Gaya without the knowledge of anybody, a few days after the master came to the Kashipur garden. At that time, the study of the extraordinary life of Lord Buddha and conversation about his detachment from the world, his renunciation and austerity were going on night and day amongst us. The wall of the small room on the southern side of the ground floor of the garden house, which we always used, was written the word from the Lalita Vishtar, indicative of the firm resolve of Buddha. I will sit continuously in the same seat and practice meditation and steady abstraction of mind till I realize that enlightened state, which is gained only through effort lasting for ages. Let the body be destroyed in the attempt, if it is to be so, flashing before our eyes day and night. These words always reminded us that we also would have to sacrifice our lives for the realization of God, who is of the nature of truth. We must also follow the maxim of the Lalita Vishtar. Thus, in the midst of these endless discussions on the Buddha's detachment from the world, Swami Vivekananda suddenly went away to Bodh Gaya. But he did not inform anyone where he was going or when he would return. So we thought he would not perhaps return to us at all, to the world, anymore, and we would not see him again. Word came afterwards that he had put on ochre cloth and gone.
Gautama Buddha, shining in golden splendor, said to himself, "How can I tell others about this enlightenment, this absolute peace beyond suffering?" Thinking thus, he remained seated there, deep in meditation. Then the Lord of the world, Brahma, came and bowed down to him and beseeched him. Gautama Buddha, shining in golden splendor, said to himself, "How can I tell others about this enlightenment, this absolute peace beyond suffering?" Thinking thus, he remained seated there, deep in meditation. Then the Lord of the world, Brahma, came and bowed down to him and beseeched him. "O noble one, please teach people. In this world there are some people who are born pure. Please give these people your noble teaching, that they also may attain enlightenment like you." As Gautama Buddha remained sitting there quietly, Brahma repeated his request again and again. At last, moved by Brahma's intense pleading, Gautama Buddha, who was full of compassion for all beings, sentient and insentient, came down from meditation and began to become aware of the outside world around him, which now appeared to him like a pond of lotuses. He said, "One lotus sprouted in the water, grew bigger and bigger, but still remained immersed in the water. Another lotus sprouted in the water, grew bigger and bigger, till it touched the surface of the water. A third lotus also sprouted in the water, grew and grew, broke through the surface of the water, and then raised itself above the surface, where its flowers and leaves were untouched by the water. Where can I find people in this world like this last lotus? People who can rise above the desires of this world and remain untouched by lust, greed, and envy. To such people I must give this teaching first. Only they will be able to grasp the teaching quickly." He considered this question till he remembered those 5 ascetics who practiced austerities with him, and he set off for the deer park at Sarnath to find them.
This is also from the Great Master, describing the experience or vision of Buddha, from Swami Vivekananda.
Swami said, "O God, make me fit to see your real nature." He then removed all kinds of thought from his mind, and keeping it still and motionless like the flame of a lamp in a windless place, tried to remain in that state. As a result of doing so for a short time, Narendra's mind, which had all along been restrained, used to merge in itself so deeply, even the consciousness of time and his own body disappeared now. He sat for meditation in his room when all the household had gone to bed, and spent whole nights that way, on many occasions. As a result of that, one day, Narendra had an extraordinary vision. There flowed in my mind a current of serene bliss when I kept it still, devoid of all objects. I felt for a long time, even after the end of the meditation, a sort of intoxication under its impulse. So I did not feel inclined to leave the seat and get up immediately. One day, when I was sitting in that condition at the end of the meditation, I saw the extraordinary figure of Brahma appear suddenly, from where I did not know, and stand before me at a little distance, filling the room with a divine effulgence. It was an ochre cloth, the kandala in his hand. His face bore such a calm and serene expression of inwardness, born of indifference to all things, that I was amazed and felt much drawn toward him. He walked forward toward me with a slow step, with his eyes steadfastly fixed on me, as if he wanted to say something. I was seized with fear and could not keep quiet. I got up from my seat, opened the door, and walked out of the room with rapid steps. The next moment I thought, why this foolish fear? I made bold and went back into the room to hear the monk, but he was no longer there. I waited long in vain and felt dejected, repenting that I'd been stupid enough to fly away without listening to him. I've seen many monks, but never have I found such an extraordinary expression in any other face. That face has been indelibly imprinted in my heart. It may be an hallucination, but very often it comes to my mind that I had the good fortune of seeing the Lord Buddha that day.
Seeing Gautama Buddha at a distance coming toward them, the 5 ascetics said, "Oh, there's that Gautama. He gave up practicing austerities. Why should we have anything to do with him?" But as he came near, they saw a change in him. They saw the light in him. So the ascetics silently welcomed him, made a seat for him, and washed his feet. Then they asked him for his teaching. Gautama Buddha gave his first sermon, setting in motion the wheel of truth. There are 2 things which we should not do. One is to indulge in pleasure and do whatever we like. The other is to torture oneself. Neither of these help us. What can help us? The middle path. Everyone thinks, I will not die, I will not become old, I will not fall sick. But we cannot avoid these in our life. Everything is momentary, changing. Then why do we suffer? Because of our ignorance. We are attached to our selfish desires and forget the truth. But we can go beyond pain and suffering and attain supreme peace. Hearing these teachings, the 5 ascetics were greatly delighted, and they also found the truth beyond all sorrows and doubts. Absorbed in the truth, they said, "O noble one, we renounce the world for this teaching." They decided to live their lives as monks in a new way, according to the Buddha's teachings, and went about asking for alms. Hearing this noble news, all gods and goddesses were exceedingly joyful. All creation became joyous as understanding, compassion, and peace spread throughout the land.
In this way, the eternal wheel of truth was set in motion. Having once started to turn, this wheel of truth will never stop. Through time, it has become bigger and bigger, and this noble teaching has spread throughout the world. Even now, after more than 2,500 years, this wheel of truth is still turning, round and round, incessantly. Even today, Gautama Buddha is guiding people to the light. This is from Buddha's Message to the World by Swami Vivekananda.
The life of Buddha has an especial appeal. All my life I've been very fond of Buddha, but not of his doctrine. I have more veneration for that character than for any other. That boldness, that fearlessness, and that tremendous love. He was born for the good of men. Others may seek God. Others may seek truth for themselves. He did not even care to know truth for himself. He sought truth because people were in misery.
先生、よろしくお願い申し上げます。
はい。
お経。
はい。
大心だらに
ナムからダンノトラヤヤナムリヤボリョシウラヤベジザトボヤモゴザトボヤモコキャルニキャヤエンサワラワエクタンノトニチャクイモリヤボリョキキシウラリントボナムノラケンジェケレモコトシャミサモ弁護主員サボザトのモゴギャモワテトトシトエンオコリョキルヤチカラチケリモコブチザトモラモラモキモキリトインクリョクリョケモトヨトヨジャヤチモコジャヤチトラトラチリチャロチャロモモアモラオティリユキユキシノチノウラカンラカリオロダンクリョクリョモラクリョクリョキリチャロチャロチリキリクリョクリョウジヤウジヤウトヤウトヤキリヤキリノヤモノトモコジドヤトモコモコジドヤトモコジドユキシュラヤトモコノラキンジトモコモラノラトモコヤトモコトコモコジドヤトモコジャキラオジドヤトモコトモヤジドヤトモコノラキンジハゲヤトモコモリトモコナムカラタンノトラヤヤナモリヤブヨキキシュラヤトモコイセトモトラオトモリコ
届き時をもってあまねく一切を予防し我らと主上と皆共に仏道上弁護と
ジェオサンジジェソンムサモエコサモエコジャ
Thank you very much for this very wonderful chanting. ありがとうございます。素晴らしいお経を。This is very rare to listen to the traditional chanting in Pali. And this year, we have the minister of Frozen Noninji Temple, Hakue, Yamaguchi, in the Soto Zen Buddhist sect. He entered this path of Soto Zen sect in 1966. Basically, with this question, is there the stage or state in which we can beyond both sufferings and happiness? パリ語のお経を読んでいただき、本当にありがとうございます。とても珍しいお経で喜んでおります。曹洞宗不老山能仁寺ご住職山口白英様に今日はお越しいただいております。先生は苦と楽、善と悪、どちらに転んでも大丈夫な世界はないのだろうかと、1966年4月5日に禅門に出家をなさったそうです。After entering into the life of Zen, he met one young wandering monk who just came by his Buddhist temple. So he wanted to know how to practice in Zen. That monk gave him one book to read. But that time he did not read because he was not interested. それから半年後のある日のこと、ご出家なさってから、一人の青年僧が全国行脚の途中にそのお寺に立ち寄られたそうです。それでその先生は早速修行のあり方について詳しくお尋ねになったそうです。するとその方は、その放浪僧は、っていうか全国行脚の僧は、これを読みなさいと一冊の本を手渡されました。でもその当時、そのような本に興味はなく、お読みにはならなかったんだそうです。After about 20 years, one day, he started to read one book, which suddenly fell down from the bookshelf, which was given to him 20 years ago. And after reading, during reading already, he deeply moved through this book. He said he vividly could feel the presence of that person in that book. The message from that book entered into him very deeply. Actually, he shocked strongly with this book and cried out to read this book whole day. The words in this book were from Swami Vivekananda. The name of that book was Karma Yoga. He started to use this book of Swami Vivekananda as a text in his Zen circle, study group. それから20年の後、ある日、突然に書棚から本が落ちてきたそうです。その一冊の本を開いてみて読んでみると、そこに書かれている内容を見て、背後の動機も、その著者の息遣いまでも、が、もう、ひしひしと伝わってきたんだそうです。 あまりの衝撃に、そのままその場に座り込んでしまって、それから夕刻まで、寒類にむせびながら、ぶっ通しで読まれたのだそうです。その著者の人物こそが、インド僧、スワミ・ビベーカーナンダでした。その後、先生の主催なさいます禅の会に、ビベーカーナンダの勉強会が取り入れられたのだそうです。First of all, he was strongly overwhelmed and attracted by Swamiji's very fresh and his very strong enthusiasm. He was totally moved by these words of Swamiji. Swamiji said, even at the time of death, Buddha never said to others about his own greatness and his own glory, or his special presence. Because of this, I really salute Buddha. That was Swami Vivekananda said. He felt his words as if Swamiji was looking at Buddha just in front of him. That was his impression. ビベーカーナンダのブッダに対するその新鮮な情熱に圧倒されたとおっしゃっています。ビベーカーナンダのこの言葉に感銘されたのだそうです。死に行く時ですら、ブッダはご自分の特別なこと、卓越していることなどは一切口になさいませんでした。私はこれがためにブッダを崇拝します。と。なんという洞察力、なんという聡明な力強さだと先生は感激しておられます。ビベーカーナンダのお言葉は目の前にブッダを見ているようだと、このようにもおっしゃっておられます。He felt, he means senses, he felt. Swamiji has the power with the wisdom. He astonished how clear to make us to understand the truth. He could understand the Swamiji's earning to Buddha. And the presence of Buddha was very vivid in Swamiji. He said, words of Swamiji shocked him from bottom of his heart. He never heard such vivid and clear words on Buddha. He said that the teachings through the mouth of Vivekananda can have such power to enter into our souls and to make us to understand. 全身全霊が揺さぶられて身震いするほどにブッダに対するビベーカーナンダの深い心情的な憧れ、霊的な直感によってブッダを感じておられると先生は驚き感激しておられました。このようにブッダを肌身で感じるスワミ・ビベーカーナンダの言葉は今までに聞いたことがないとも言っておられます。ブッダの教えがビベーカーナンダの心の内を通ると、これほどまでに強い説得力を持つのかと、先生は感激しておられます。これが、先生とスワミ・ビベーカーナンダのご関係です。This is a relationship with Swami Vivekananda and this Hakue Sensei. Now, we want to enter the question and answer. Now, I want to know how much people who are practicing in Zen can accept the teachings of Swami Vivekananda. Especially that time, it was very rare about Swami Vivekananda. So now, how about now the situation in Japan now? では、宗教の教えの中で、 どのくらいの人がスワミ・ビベーカーナンダの教えを受け入れることが、または実践していることができるのでしょうか。あの当時はとても珍しいことだったと思っております。その状態は今はどのようなものなんでしょうか。ちょっとお尋ねしたいと思います。お願いいたします。
はい。今、言われたように、私はビベーカナンダに非常に深い信条を持って今も接しております。決してビベーカナンダを外に見てはいないです。私の内で見て、そしていつも私が話をする、法の話をするときは、必ずビベーカナンダの言葉を紹介しております。それほど深い。
To me, the presence that I feel of Vivekananda is very deep, and it's not something that I feel that he is outside of myself, but rather within myself. And always when I do Dharma talks, I always talk about Vivekananda.
そしてビベーカナンダが説かれるところのベーダンタ、このベーダンタというのと禅というのは全く同じです。全然違うものではないと私は思います。ちょうど
And the teachings of Vedanta, which is the Vivekananda's philosophy, and Zen philosophy, these are exactly the same, and there's no contradiction between them.
日本の禅は中国から伝わってきたので、中国語の難解、非常に難しい言葉で説明されておりますが、それをビベーカナンダが説かれると、見事に私たち即その言葉に導かれる。だから決してビベーカナンダは教義を説いているんではなくて、自分のところにその法を持ってきてくださっている方だって、非常に親しみを感じております。
So Zen in Japan comes from China, and the terms are very difficult. So studying the literature of Zen can be very difficult. But listening to the words of Vivekananda, they are very easy to understand. And they're really not doctrine, but a straight spiritual understanding and path.
我々禅の修行僧は一句、これがベーダンタでいうところの多様性の中の単一。汝はそれなり、それを見出せ。この一句につきます。
So in Zen, the key understanding is to find that which is the same in all the diversity, the unity and the diversity, and to know thyself, to know that I am that. That is basically what's at the fundamental teaching of Zen.
この意味が、ブッダがお説きになられた天上天が唯が独尊、まさにこの教義であると思います。
And this is what I believe is the core, one of Buddha's core teachings, which is, I am my own Lord throughout heaven and earth. And I believe that's what that is pointing to.
Excuse me, I want to say, when Buddha was born, that time, in the scripture, olden scripture, we don't know the fact, but in the scripture they said, Buddha said, when he was born, he pointed out above and below, and he said, I'm the only person to be the great. I think I put it in English. Yeah. In all above, in all below, there is only I. That I is most precious. That was here, today, we bathe the Buddha. That bathe the Buddha, that posture, in this posture, he said, again, I tell you, what Sensei said, this is very important, is it is said that after Gautama Buddha Shakyamuni was born, he immediately walked 7 steps and pointing upwards and downwards. And also, it is said that he said, in all above, in all below, there is only I. That I is most precious. I'm sorry, I wanted to explain. Sorry. すみません。ちょっとインタラプトしましたが、どうぞお続けください。
はい。それで、私自身が、私の師匠について修行してまいりました。そしてその師匠の師匠、原田宗学老師、この方が仏教を一句で言うならば、一即一切、一切即一とおっしゃった。この言葉は私は今もしっかりと自分にこうすりつけて、そしていつも参じている言葉です。一と一切、一切と一。これがまさにベダンタの言う汝はそれなり、多様性の中の単一、この意味として、全然ベダンタと仏教は、あるいは禅は違うものではありません。まさに究極的な問いかけは、この一句にあると思います。
So I then studied under different Zen masters, and my teacher, Sogaku Harada, summarized the Buddhist teaching in one line, which is essentially, the one is all and the all is one. And so this, that's what I believe is, that can really link Zen and Vedanta, that the individual and the totality is ultimately the same.
はい。ということです。
ありがとうございます。What he said was actually his guru's guru. His guru, as I mentioned. But what he said, Sensei said, guru's guru said all the time to nail to the disciples. What was means the Japanese was very difficult, and he very nicely put into English, but not so easy, one and all. Actually, Issai means all the beings, and all Issai it means, it's very difficult to say. We can say all, but all means not just only all beings, all everything include. So very deeper meaning what he said. Just he said very simple word. One, ichi is Issai, but what he said some. So what he said, one is means individual is only equal to all of that. That means Issai means really difficult to say. All pervading also that includes that. So that behind of the is not all behind of the meaning is all pervading also includes that meaning. So and he said opposite. All the Issai means everything is only one. What he said. That is his guru said to all the disciples all the time to nail these words into our actions. So, では、次行ってよろしいですか？次の質問お願いします。Especially, I want to know the main points. Already, 先生おっしゃったと思いますけど、which aspects are the common of these teachings of Zen and Vedanta? This was we prepared, so same, already he replied, so I can skip, but if you have some question in the audience, please ask me. I can, instead of you, I can ask him if you want to. Because he already said, I wanted to ask the teachings of Zen and Vedanta, common point, but he said already. So 今、ご質問をしたかったんですが、2番目の質問はもうすでにお答えしていただいてしまわれて、ですので、次へ行くということになると思いますが、
はい、
共通している面では、then, which aspects are the things which you cannot accept or not agree what Swami Vivekananda said. スワミ・ビベカナンダのどの面がお受け入れになれない、または同意できない点でしょうか。お聞かせ
それは全くありません。もうすべてです。はい。
Not at all. Everything. What he said is all. Everything. Okay, thank you. はい、お伝えいたしました、皆さんに。
はい。
では、4番目に行きます。Now, in my understanding, you are studying on Swami Vivekananda for about 30 years. What is the influence to your disciples or your people from Swami Vivekananda? 私の、知識では、派遣させていただいたところでは、もう大体30年ぐらい、スワミ・ビベカーナンダの研究をしておられるというふうに理解しております。それでは先生のお弟子さんたちの間で、または先生の周りの方たちで、どのような影響がそれによってありましたでしょうか。お聞かせください。
はい。私はいつもビベカナンダの教えを、皆さんにお伝えしておりますが、それは言葉ではなくて、その書かれた内容、その意味を自分にすり合わせなさい。耳から聞くんではなくて、全身全霊、自分にすり合わせてください。
So I'm always teaching my disciples about Vivekananda and his teaching. But I always say it's not just about the words. Please take it in and live it with your whole life. It's not just a philosophy, so live it with your whole body.
ある一人の方は、キリスト教の信者さんですが、やはりビベカナンダの言葉を私はお伝えしていく中に、その信者さんが、一切はこれ神だとおっしゃって、そして日が来るほど嬉しい、そのようにおっしゃって、そして静かに亡くなっていかれた方がいます。もう一人は、
So one of my students was a Christian, and I was teaching him about the teachings of Vivekananda. And towards the end of his life, he had the realization that all is God, and that made him very happy. And with that, he passed away.
もう一人の方は1ヶ月ほど前の人で、その方が私に最後、死ぬということは怖くはありませんとおっしゃった。これも長くビベカナンダの教えを聞いておられたからだと思います。
And there was another student who, this was about 1 month ago, and they said they were not scared of death. And this was also coming from listening about the teachings of Vivekananda.
その意味では、今まで学んでこられたその方たち、本当に心の進歩、豊かな心を持って、今生活しておられると思います。
So, speaking for all these students, I believe that they've made good progress, spiritual progress, and are living with a very abundant heart.
はい。
ありがとうございます。
はい。
大体もう似てるんで、どうしようかなと思うんですけど、Then, through the teachings of Swamiji, were the qualities of your disciples or monastics or those who is practicing in Zen physically changed or not, or something helpful. で、このスワミジーの教えによりまして、実際のところあなたのお弟子さんの中でも本当にそうになってらっしゃる方とか、または深い信者さんでいらっしゃる方、そういう近い方たちもどのようにお変わり なったでしょうか。変化っていうのは、やはり他の仏教のね、修行してらっしゃる方と比べると、どのように違いがあるでしょうか。
はい。私はビベカナンダの言葉をみんなに伝えるときに、この言葉、教えというものは、月を指さす指である。月を指さす指。だから、
When I teach about the words of Vivekananda, I always say that the teachings are like pointing towards the moon, a finger pointing towards the moon.
ですからみんなに指だけを見てはいけない。その指の先の月を見るように。
So I say, don't look just at the finger pointing. Look, always try to find what it's pointing at, the moon.
私が最初にビベカナンダの本、生きる秘訣という本であったですが、その教え、それは私にその月の光のごとくに入ってきました。決して文字ではありませんでした。
So the book that I read of Vivekananda, which was titled Ikiru Hiketsu in Japanese, the Secrets of Living, the teachings in this book, it entered me like the light of the moon.
深い教えは本当に背後という、例えばアインシュタインが言ったものの背後には深く隠された秘密がある。この背後の秘密、これはなかなか容易にわかるものではありません。
So when it comes to the deep teachings, it always speaks about what is behind, what underlies reality. And there's a quote by Einstein that says there is something very deep and beautiful behind the manifest world. And there's a deep secret behind the manifest world. And that's what I sense the teachings are getting at.
ところがビベカナンダの言葉は、その闇に隠されたような深い真理を目の前に展開してくださる。
So the words of Vivekananda, he brings these truths that are as if in the darkness and brings them right in front of your eyes.
ビベカナンダがおっしゃるブッダの教え、ブッダは人の門口まで届けたその教えをです。そのようにおっしゃっておられましたが、ビベカナンダはまさに私の門口までその真理を持ってきて、そして説明してくださっている、そのような力あるお方だと思います。
So Vivekananda says that the Buddha's teaching really brings truth to the right in front of people. And that's also how I feel about the words of Vivekananda, that they really bring out the truth and really make it clear in front of me.
Yeah, he brought to the door. Each door means Swami Vivekananda always carried us to the door. So always he guide us physically, not intellectually. That is what he said.
そこで私の学んでいる人たちに申し上げるのは、その言葉を指と見てはいけない。月と見て自分の中に照らしなさい。私は誰か。そしてビベカナンダのお言葉を照らしなさい。そして私は誰か、その答えを出しなさいと教えております。
So what I tell my students is to see the teachings not just as the finger pointing towards the moon, but to get to the moon itself and to realize it within oneself and ultimately to find out the question, who am I?
はい。
I understand the teachings of Swami Vivekananda are wonderful. But practically, how can we practice what Swamiji said to us? Could you please kindly give us your advice concretely? スワミジの教えは素晴らしく納得するのですが、では、具体的にはどのように 実際日常の生活で実践していけばよろしいでしょうか。
はい
お願いします。
私は禅僧ですから、実践においては禅を進めます。そして禅の実践は体を持ってやる。頭で考えるんではないということをみんなに申し上げて、とにかく心学度、身をもって学ぶ。この力学を私は今はっきりと皆さん方に説明しております。これが、
So I'm a Zen monk, and so I teach people to do Zen. And to do Zen is to do it with one's body, not just with the mind. And so that's where my emphasis is to also to be rooted in the body and to study the mechanics of the body.
それともう一つ、私がビベカナンダの言葉で一番好きなお言葉、科学性のない宗教は去るべきだ。ベーダンタはまさに科学である。この言葉、迷信ではないという証明、そして今の科学はビベカナンダの見教えを解きつつあるということ、これは嬉しいです。
So one of the words, teachings of Vivekananda that I like is that religion without science must be discarded. So really, the truth that he is pointing at, it's not superstition, but it's as solid just as science.
はい。
一人質問があると言ってます。You say English and I can, yeah.
Thank you. My question is, Buddha never spoke of God, and Zen Buddhism never uses the word God. But Swami Vivekananda uses the word God, and I heard you also use the word God. How do you understand this word, and how do you reconcile this difference?
仏教ではね、in the Buddhism, and Buddhism, you say Buddhism, or Zen.
No God in Buddha
In
never
Zen,
said, Buddha never used the word God, and Zen Buddhism also doesn't use the word God.
仏教では神という言葉を使わないと。そして禅でも神という言葉は使わないと。でもベーダンタでは使います。それではこの矛盾っていうか、そのことをどのように捉えていらっしゃるでしょうか。
はい。神という言葉、私は非常に好きです。ただ、
He loves God, the word of God.
神も仏も、あるいはアートマン、全部一つのそこを名付けた名前だけであって、そこに向かわなければいけないのは確かです。
So, words like Buddha, God, or Atman, these are all simply names that refer to a fundamental reality, fundamentally the same unmanifest reality.
私が禅をやりながら、ビベカナンダの見教えの中で一番感謝しなければいけないのがバクティヨガです。
So while I was doing Zen, listening to the teachings of Vivekananda, the thing that I really want to give him thanks most is what I learned about Bhakti Yoga.
ですから神、私は仏、神、何と呼んでもいいと思っております。それでちょうど私と縁のある、世界的に有名な素潜りで世界100メートルを超えたっていうジャック・マイヨル。あの方が宇宙には深い英知がある。それを神と呼んでもいい、ブッダと呼んでもいいとおっしゃった。これには非常に私は賛成です。
So, to me, you can say God or you can say Buddha, but they're all, any word is okay. And there's a diver named Jack Mayol, and he said, there is a deep intelligence to the universe, and we can call it God or Buddha or anything. The word doesn't matter essentially.
この宇宙の力を今科学が証明してきています。その証明はまさにベーダンタ仏教、同じところ、その入り口まで来ておりますから、私は科学をもっともっと発展してほしいことを祈っております。
So this force in the universe is something being demonstrated increasingly in science as well. So science and Vedanta and Buddhism, I think it is all coming closer together.
はい。
ありがとうございます。
ありがとう。
One more, I want to convey his greatness actually. Once I attended his talk class, maybe 10 years ago. No, not 10 years ago. 35 years ago. Sorry, I'm old. I attended his talk. Not 20 years, no, impossible. 30 years ago or more. And that time he talked about karma yoga. I felt great. What he explained. Only once I attended his talk. But maybe I can ask him, maybe it takes time, maybe. 一度私は先生のご講義に一回参加させていただいたことがあるんですね。で、みんながここで笑ったのは、私が20年前って言って、あ、違う、35年前だとか言って、みんなに笑われたんですが、今。それで、時間のあれが全然決まってないということで、それでみんなが大笑いしたんですが、その時、カルマヨガのことで、先生がね、説明してくださいました。それで私がすごく感激した点があるんですね。それは何かというと、what I really surprised at him, what he said was, what is a karma yoga? Absorb into the action is the karma yoga, what he said. Yes, no result, you don't need to expect it. No, that is okay. But real karma yoga is absorb into your action only. What it means, really, you enter into the action, your own actions, whatever. You forget everything outside world. Yes, we experience it, you see? Whatever we do, many things, we study or whatever, we forget everything and we do absorb into. That with oneness is a real karma yoga, what he said. 今ちょっと先生のおっしゃったことを理解してないかどうかわからないんですが、今思い出してみんなにちょっと説明したんですが、はい、私がすごく感激したのは先生がおっしゃって、カルマヨガというのは結果を期待しないということだけではなく、ただ自分の行為に、自分がしている行為に没入していくという、完全に外の世界を忘れ、ただ内に没入していくと。それが真のカルマヨガであるというふうに、その当時、先生は皆さんに説明していらっしゃいました。それの考えを私は本当に、それこそ私が思っているものだと、同意いたした次第でございます。だった、その時にね、当時。そのことについてお話をお願いします。
はい。私が出家をして、奈良のお寺に入ったんですが、もうその日から、とにかく禅宗におけるサムという作業です。このサムになりきれっていうのが私の師匠の命令でした。
So when I first became a monk and went to a temple in Nara, there's these samu, these chores that we have to do in the Zen temple. And what my teacher told me is to just do them with the utmost dedication to be absorbed in what you're doing.
明治の仏教学者で鈴木大拙という方がおられます。この鈴木大拙さんがおっしゃるには、ベーダンタはすべて禅宗に入ったとおっしゃってます。まさに、カルマヨーガは禅の世界ではサムと言います。 そしてラージャヨーガを禅という。そして師匠からいろいろ法を聞く、これがギャーナヨーガ。もう一つ朝晩ブッダに祈るバクティヨガ。バクティの面は非常に、弱いんですが、とにかくサムと座禅、全身全霊なりきるという、成功と失敗に煩わないというギーターに書かれてある、まさにそれが日本の禅に伝わっております。
So the Zen teacher Daisetsu Suzuki said that Vedanta is all in Zen, and so the Raja Yoga is in Zazen. The Karma Yoga is in the Samu, which is the chores in the temple, and the Jhana Yoga is hearing the teachings from your teacher. And the bhakti is to pray to the Buddha all day. And the bhakti and is kind of not as much. There's mostly Raja in Zen, but that's how I see how Vedanta is manifest in Zen.
はい。ですから、とにかく私は最初に出家した後、座禅ばかりしているんだと思ったらとんでもない。その作業が主であったです。そしてなぜこの作業をするんですかと言ったら師匠がおっしゃった。全身全霊打ち込む。これが禅だと。動く禅、座る禅、同じという考えでした。
So I thought that when I became a monk, I would just be doing zazen the whole time, but that was not the case. We had to do all these chores, and there's a lot more to temple life. And when I asked my teacher, why do we have to do all these chores? My teacher told me that you have to do everything with your whole spirit, your whole body, your whole mind, and that whether you're moving or sitting, it's the same.
はい。
ありがとうございました。そしてもう時間が来ておりますので、本当に尊いお話を聞かせていただき、心より本当に感謝いたしております。本当にありがとうございました。Now, we invite you all to offer flowers and of tea, amateur, to bathe the Lord Buddha, baby Buddha. In Japan, on the 8th of April, they bathe the baby Buddha with amateur tea, an herb tea, which has a significance of nectar. We may be able to carry on the Buddha's love and compassion in our heart, and let's try to contemplate what we learned here today. Thank you very much. May Gautama Buddha's blessings come to all of us. You can see. Right.
Careful of this gate.
You just unplug the camera. Because you unplugged that's the internet.
Yeah, why I didn't unplug the camera.
Yeah, but is it still streaming? Is it okay? Because it's connected to the internet, it won't go.
So if you didn't do the baby Buddha, please come to.
Namo
I feel very special today. Everyone didn't move. No one people goes, but no one, they don't want to go out. I thought, oh, what do people do? Really, you moved something in your heart. Something touched in your heart, is it? Something looks like, because normal people goes after finishing the program. Beyond at the end. But still, no one moves. Oh my gosh, thank you very much for attending. How do you feel, huh?
Did you move?
Yes, I see that in church.
Oh, okay.
I don't need to go here.
But they're going out this way, maybe.
No, every right. Yes. See the no.
It's a secret.
No. Don't he? Yeah. He never come to me. You never come to me. No.